everybody, in this week's video I'll be showing you guys how to make these super cute pants with the ties on the side. I think this is such a fun, cute project and perfect for summer. Here was the inspiration I was going off of for the pants I wanted to make for this week's video, kind of like the long pants with the opening on the sides with the little bows that kept it closed in different little places. This is the fabric I decided to use. I got it for free from my grandma, so I was super excited to use it. I thought it was cute and it was good fabric, so it would make a good pair of pants. And this is the pattern that I like to use when I'm making pants. I just trace that pattern onto my fabric and then cut out my fabric using that pattern that I traced. Once I was done cutting out the general shape, I folded the pants in half and then cut along straight down the middle of the pants. This is going to end up being the side seam where you put your bows. Before I started mixing up the pieces too much, I wanted to mark the two front pieces so I could tell the difference between them. So I grabbed some chalk and just made a little mark at the very top. I used my serger to finish up those side seams so that they wouldn't fray. Once I had done that, I laid my pant panels out with the two backs together and the two fronts together, and it should look like this. Then I used my serger to close up these seams. Next, I lined up the crotch of the pants and pinned the inside seam closed, and we are going to sew the inside seam starting in the middle where the crotch is and then going down one side of the pant leg and then doing the same thing on the other side. Next thing we're going to do is sew up the sides of the pants closed, but we're only going to do this part way down the pants, and so I'm just going to measure how far down I want the pants to be closed and then pin down to there and marking where I want to stop sewing with a pin. Then I just sewed that seam closed, making sure to backstitch at the bottom where I want the opening of the pants to start. Next thing I did was I top stitched the seam allowance down, and you want to do this down the entire length of the pants, not just where you want the opening to start. So this is what the pants look like so far, and right now they kind of look like an ugly sack of potatoes, but that's okay because we're working on that. In this clip, I'm just pinning the pants onto myself to see where I want the waistband to land on my waist. Then I took the pants off and measured how much I needed to take off the top and marked where I wanted the waistband to fall. I knew I wanted my waistband to be folded over about 2.5 inches, so I took about 1.5 inches off the very top of the pants all the way around. was I finished the top seam on the waistband, and I did this by first serging and then folding it over on and doing a straight stitch on a normal sewing machine. Then I folded over the waistband, measuring 2.5 inches so that I would have enough room for each of my elastic channels. I also pinned everything in place so that it would stay at 2.5 inches as I was sewing. Alright, then it was time to start making channels for the elastic waistband. I ended up making 3 separate channels for 3 separate elastics. I think this makes pants look a lot more professional when you have multiple channels for waistbands and elastics, because I just think that's what a lot of stores do, or it gives a similar look to what a lot of stores do. For these pants, I had 2 skinny channels on the outside edges of the pants and then 1 wide channel down the middle, in between those 2 skinny channels. I cut my elastic to the right length, just the circumference of my waist, and then I used a safety pin to thread the elastic through those 3 separate channels that I made. I sewed the elastic together and then closed all the rest of the channels up. And before I had finished closing the very last channel on the bottom, I grabbed a little piece of ribbon and folded it in half and tucked it under that little seam so that it would stick out and end up being used as a tag in the finished product. Then I just finished up the waistband by closing that last little section and sewing the tag in place. The pants were a little long on me, so I ended up hemming them, and I just cut off the extra fabric and serged the bottom and then folded it over and used a straight stitch to top stitch that serged seam down on both sides. This is what the final hem ended up looking like. And I'm sorry about the terrible lighting in this room right now. It's kind of scary. Sorry. Now we get to start working on the fun part where we start adding the bows. So I just laid my pants out and made 4 marks starting at where the side of the pants is closed and then 7 inches down from each point, and that should give you 4 separate marks that are 7 inches apart. And you want to make sure that you did this on both sides. You see me using a calculator here because it kind of used a lot of math to figure out how far apart I needed the ribbons to be. Then out of my leftover fabric, I started just cutting a bunch of strips of fabric. I just did it 3 stripes wide, but because the fabric already had lines on it, but you can make it as wide or as thin as you want to. I didn't make an exact amount, I just started cutting strips of fabric. Then I folded those strips of fabric in half and used my serger to sew them shut. Then using these strips of now tubes, I cut 8 strips of fabric that were 15 inches long each. And this is about what they should look like when you're done. I wanted to make sure that these wouldn't come apart, so I just did a little back stitch on each end of the little ribbons to make sure that they wouldn't fall apart. I used a safety pin to turn these little tubes or straps inside out, and then I used a lighter to burn the edges to make sure that there is a finished edge and that the ribbon that we're making wouldn't fray. Next thing I did was I started adding the bows to the pans, and I just kind of grabbed our little ribbons and folded them until they kind of looked like a bow. I pinned them together and top stitched them onto the pans. For the top bow, I didn't have to sew the pans closed at all, but on the other bows, you're going to have to sew the pans closed a little bit before you put the bow on. And then you just do that down each of the sides of your pants with each of your bows. Last thing I did is I used my Cricut to cut out some of my logos, and I put that logo on the tag that we put in the back of the pants. And this is how they turned out. I think they're so gosh darn freaking cute. Like, look at them. They have little bows on the side. They're so cute. And the triple elastic waistband made it look so professional. I was so happy with how this turned out. I was so proud of these pants. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe and check out the rest of my videos. I love making videos, and I hope you guys love watching them too. Have a great rest of your week.